Okay, so our guest for today is Deborah. I don't know how many of us read the bio before now, but I read something small here. So she's everything about data, AI, machine learning, and all. And she's currently part of the prestigious African Masters in Intelligence, sponsored by Google and Facebook. And her research interest is in the applications of machine learning algorithms in the development of robust credit scoring models and in the explainability and interpretability of machine learning models. So, big as it may, today we're going to get the chance to break down this into the barest minimum so all of us get to understand. So, I want to ask the questions, the challenges, the opportunities, how to actually pursue a career path with AI and machine learning. So, that's why we have Ms. Deborah Kanubala today with us. So, Ms. Deborah, if you can hear us, the floor is yours and you can start the presentation now. And thank you to all for joining in. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Edinam, for that powerful introduction, actually. So to get started, I would be using slides. So the presentation from my end, I'll do a presentation for 30 minutes. And then for the remaining part of the program would be question and answering. So I would want to share my slides. So Ednam, could you help? I think you've disabled the sharing for participants. So if you could check the settings for me.
Sorry. Let me give you access to share your video. Okay, I'm going to make you a co-host. So I think you should. So let me know if you're able to share now.
All right, let me try again. I believe everyone can see my slides.
Yes, I can see your slides. So let me give a quick announcement though. Please mute when you get in, and I'll try as much to be in the chat and muting when necessary. So thank you so much. Deborah, you have the floor.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I think I will not be able to see the chat button because I have just put it in the presentation mode now. So my name already Edna mentioned is Deborah Kanubala, and I'm a master's degree student at the African Masters in Machine Intelligence program in Ghana. So I think for a very long time or within the past 2 years, machine learning AI have become a buzzword that most industries, students are beginning to hear about, and industries are beginning to think about how they can incorporate AI or machine learning techniques into their existing approaches or things they already do in their industries. And then students are also interested to actually learn about AI and machine learning, given the vast opportunities that are available with this career path. So it is important that we begin to initiate discussions on how one can actually begin to get into a career in the field. And so the purpose of today's presentation is to highlight on that. The presentation is just for 30 minutes, and there's certainly a whole lot of things that one would have to get to know when you want to begin a career in AI. But of course, I have tried as much as possible to capture as many things as possible. But I'm also happy to address any questions that you'd have after the end of my presentation. So the content of my presentation is going to I'll talk about what AI is. We look at what are the applications of AI. Also, what are the responsibilities of an AI or machine learning engineer. We also look at what are the required skills and resources needed to get started if you're interested in a career in AI or machine learning. Just a brief So to begin, what is AI, first of all? So AI basically is a science that deals with making machines intelligent, or in other sense, we are looking at how we can make machines have the intelligence of humans. So that's just the broad definition of AI. And machine learning actually is also a subset of AI that looks into making machines learn from data. So you learn from historical data, and from that data, the machines are able to make predictions of unseen data. So for instance, I would just want to make it as simple as possible. Let's say that you're interested in being able to identify um, people who actually default, credit defaults, right? So you want to identify people who take loans and do not pay back. So what machine learning does is that it takes in data of people that have already defaulted by taking loans. They take loans and don't pay back, and those that haven't taken loans, those who have taken loans and not paid back, they take all of that data and then train the machine to understand or see certain patterns in that. And so that when you give it new data of a new it hasn't seen, it should be able to tell you if this client actually would default or not. So basically, machine learning is making the machines learn for themselves without explicitly programmed. That's what machine learning is about. Now, deep learning is also a type of machine learning algorithm, and that is based on the neural activity of the brain. So how the neurons in the brain's functions, they are sort of complex. So deep learning is sort of trying to mimic how the brain actually behaves and look at how it can identify very complex relationship in your data. That's what deep learning is. So I included this picture here so we can have a pictorial view of it. So first of all, the field of artificial intelligence is the mother, the big mother, or the mother of everything. And then machine learning happens to be a subset, a child of it. Then deep learning, which happens to be a type of machine learning algorithm, is, I'll call it the child, so the grandchild of it. So this is a picture that just seems to illustrate everything you need to understand about AI and machine learning. So the applications of machine learning in AI are really vast. We have applications of AI and machine learning in finance sector. So I already mentioned credit scoring as one of it. And the healthcare, currently the ongoing research is with using machine learning to be able to identify breast cancer using the mammogram. That's the current research that people seems to go into with the healthcare with application in machine learning. We have agriculture. So recently we actually worked on a data set that had to do with identifying cassava diseases. You take the leaves of the cassava, the ones that are infected with diseases and the ones that are not infected with diseases, and then try to build a model that will be able to identify new leaves if they are infected with a disease or not. So telecommunications, gaming, one interesting one that I want to mention about is this one that was developed by IBM. That's Jeopardy. That's it's more like a question and answering that challenged the top scorers in the whole world. It did so well, and this was based on AI. So social media, most of us use Snapchat, right? So Snapchat filters are all based on that. This has to do with imaging, computer vision. It's from AI, and then maps. Most of us use Google Maps now and all of that. So I can't get into the nitty gritty of all of these things, but I just want you to have a broad sense of how machine learning is being applied in different areas. So I will want to look at what are the responsibilities of an AI or machine learning engineer. So to begin, first of all, the responsibility of an AI engineer is to be able to develop and design. So when given a problem, you're given, even if you don't have the data set to begin with, where do you begin from? You should be able to develop that broad sense and know what are some of the data that you need to inform you in building your model. So the first stage is to develop and design, and the next is to train and test. So once you have your data sets, you have to be able to train and test them. That has to do with that. If you're building a credit scoring, you have to try different models to see which one works best, and then also ensure that this model, when you deploy it or you take it somewhere else for users to begin using, they don't face challenges or it doesn't give them very bad results. It should give them very good results. The third is to deploy models. So once I build the machine learning or AI model on my computer, it doesn't end there. It's the responsibility of the AI or machine learning engineer to be able to deploy this. So create some API that is user friendly. So you create a user interface that people can actually use them. So for instance, Snapchat, like I mentioned, was developed using machine learning techniques. But then if they give you that model or the data in codes they use, you probably wouldn't make any sense out of it. So they have to incorporate it into certain systems so that it can make it easy for you to use. And of course, the last thing, which is also very important, is to maintain such models. Once they are built, you should ensure that they are working very up to date. You just don't leave it. That's why on Facebook, all the time we see updates, you have to update and all of that. There's so much going on at the back end. And all of this is the responsibility of the AI or machine learning engineer. But of course, all industries have their own people who deal with all these parts. But sometimes there are some companies that would put all these responsibilities on one person. So now, considering all the interesting applications and the responsibility of an AI engineer, what are actually the skills you need to get started? So I'm going to mention some few skills, so I'll take you through step by step. So the first and most important one is the programming skills. So programming is very, very, very important because I mean, you can't build anything without knowing how to program. Currently, there are a vast programming languages that are available that people use for machine learning, but all would depend on your preference and what you're comfortable working with. So I just mentioned a few of them here. We have Python, R, Julia, Scala, C++, Java. So these are languages that people use in machine learning. But I'll advise that when you're getting started, you probably would want to make the decision of knowing what the developers community base is. Because if you have any problem, you should ensure that you have a very wide development community base such that you can run to them and then ask questions if you encounter a bug or anything of that sort. So if you realize that not a lot of people probably use C++ to do machine learning, that actually tells you that once you're using C++ and you run into problems, it will always be hard for you to get people who come to your aid. I personally use Python, but then I wouldn't be Pythonic biased to say that you should use Python because I use Python. But I think that actually provides you with lots and lots of packages that makes it easy to do machine learning on. So for instance, you have scikit-learn, and then for instance, NumPy, which is numerical Python that enables you to do lots of matrix multiplications. Actually, PyTorch is built on NumPy, and PyTorch is a deep learning framework. So once you build your traditional machine learning models and you want to develop or go higher into deep learning, and you have to make use of the PyTorch, which is a deep learning framework, it's already built on NumPy, just that you're dealing with tensors. So usually it's easy for you to actually learn PyTorch because you already have some background in NumPy. And Python also provides you the opportunity to be able to deploy easily because you have a lot of frameworks already available. You have Django and what have we. So it's really important. I mean, I'm not saying you should learn Python, by the way. So it all depends on you. But these are the languages that you need. And as you're doing this learning the programming, it's very, very important that you're able to showcase your skills, your programming skills. And you can do this using GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. All of these are stuff that programmers use. So once you write your code, create an account on GitHub so you can always push your codes to, and even you can collaborate with other programmers when you're working on projects and all of that. So you probably want to have a look at GitHub and GitLab and then see how this works. And with GitHub, you can also create a website of your own as well. So I included Stack Overflow because this is the savior of anyone who does any sort of programming. And it's important to use Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow is important because, I mean, we all don't know it all. Nobody's a custodian of all knowledge. So certainly when you're working on a project for the first time, you will encounter certain challenges you've never faced. So once you have an error with your code, just copy the error as it is, put it on Stack Overflow, and certainly you'll find someone who has faced a similar problem somewhere else and has either gotten solutions to the problem. So make good use of Stack Overflow. Never sit on your bag all by yourself. Just copy it and then put it on Stack Overflow. And that's why I included Stack Overflow on the slide here. So the second set of skills that you need is the quantitative skills. I'll put that. So the quantitative skills are probability and statistics, the first one. So it's important you have some skills in probability and statistics, because when you begin to work with data, machine learning makes assumptions. For instance, we make assumptions that, oh, the error should follow some sort of normal distribution or this kind of distribution. So you need to know that. You need to understand when we say your data is not normalized, you need to normalize your data. When you're working with the data and maybe some values are missing, that means that maybe you have probably you have some data points and then you don't have any value there, you don't know what is supposed to be there. You can replace that either using the mode, the median, any of those you can replace that with. But you need to be able to understand which is better to be replaced with. For instance, if I'm working with a qualitative data, I will want to replace that with a mode. But if I'm working with a quantitative, I'll think about replacing that with a mean. Sorry. So it all depends on you and then what problem you're solving and how you can apply your probability in statistics. So this is why probability in statistics is very, very important if you're beginning a career in AI or machine learning. So the next quant skill you need is linear algebra. So for instance, linear algebra will help you work with matrices. So I already mentioned that NumPy help you manipulate matrices, because in fact, when I show you an image working with AI, the image is just a matrix. Trust me, it's not like any complicated thing. It's just a set of matrices. And then when you're dealing with very complex, like image with color, then you're dealing with tensors. So certainly you should be able to understand how do you manipulate matrices, else you always get shape errors. Because if I tell you to multiply 3 by 2 times 1 by 3 matrix, you can't multiply them because you have a shape error. So you should be able to tell or understand how these shapes work, and you can do this with linear algebra. Also with linear algebra, you're able to understand what type of data can be separable. There are some types of data that you can't find a linear separator to. So you have to take it to a different dimension. Taking it to a different dimension would involve you applying some kernel tricks and all of that. So working in a different dimension or projecting, all of these things are based on linear algebra, which you need to understand as well. The third is calculus. So calculus, most importantly, you need to know how to differentiate, because when you start working with even deep learning and you have to do what we call gradient descent. I know these words all will seem very scientific and complicated, because probably if you haven't really taken a course in machine learning, but then we have gradient descent, what we use to ensure that our model actually converges. So if you start working with gradient descent and backpropagation, you realize that you need to have a background in calculus. Without this background in calculus, it will be very difficult for you to understand how backpropagation actually works. So the quant skills you need to know is a probability and statistics, linear algebra, and calculus. Now, the third skill that you need is data structures and algorithms. Well, for this particular skill, for some people, they believe that if you're beginning a career in the field, probably it's not the most important thing. But then along the line, you have to know data structures and algorithms. You need to be able to understand what are the, let me call them containers. Where can you store a data? What type of data set can you store in a particular object? You need to understand how they work. And these are the data structures. So we have the inbuilt data structures, which are integer, floats, character points, and then the user-defined ones, array, 1D array, 2D array, you have tensors as well. And you have lists, we have the linear list, which involves star, queue, all of these things. You can learn them with time. You don't have to put yourself through so much pressure trying to learn them. Then the algorithms too, we have different type of algorithms, because sometimes you're faced with a problem and then there's no available package for you. So you have to develop or write a function of your own. And if you're not able to think the way to write it, what is the algorithm to use, it will be very hard. So when you know some few algorithms, you're able to apply them to your problems. Also, knowing data structures and algorithms, it's extremely important in landing any technical job in any of the big tech companies that we know. Talk of Google, talk of Facebook, talk of LinkedIn, any of them, because most of the interviews would always be based on data structures and algorithms. So it's really important that you understand data structures and algorithms as well. Now, the other skill that, well, I wouldn't say it's a skill per se, but you need to have it. We can't ignore that. Is the domain expertise, right? Before you get into AI, you're going to work with data. The data isn't going to come from the moon. It's going to come from a particular area. It could be financial data, it could be health data, agri, what have we. You need to understand that field. If I am working with financial data and I have to analyze or predict stock prices, I should understand when we say what is closing prices. You should be able to understand all of those things. It's important because you would somehow have to create new features, which we call feature engineering. You can combine two features and get an additional feature, so you can do away with the other one. So it all depends. If you don't have that domain expertise, there's no way you understand. The combination of these two features will give you a different. So it's important that you keep in mind of the domain expertise. So I just mentioned some few domain expertise: finance, health, agriculture, social science, education, and many more. The last and most important too is communication. Once you are done building your model, you need to know how to communicate. I mean, I can't build a model, I come and stand and say, okay, so the model gives me an accuracy of 80%. What does it mean if my model gives me an accuracy of 80%? I should be able to communicate to a non-technical audience to let them understand what it means if I have my model giving me an accuracy of 80% or a mean square or error of 0.001. What does it mean? What is the impact? How is it going to affect the industry? How is it going to affect the research community? You should be able to find a way where you can effectively communicate your findings and whatever you find from your data. You should be able to communicate them clearly to whoever is involved. So a summary of the required skills I just want to mention again is programming, linear algebra, probability and statistics, algorithm and data structures, communication, and domain expertise and problem solving. So these are basically the skills you need to get started, which is very important. Okay, so yeah, getting to know all these skills. How do I get started? You need to know, so where do I begin from? Where are the resources? Where can I find this? Where can I find that? So I'm giving you all of that. So the first, you can do online courses, right? So with the online courses, a good start is Coursera. Coursera, this is a link, it's clickable. So once you just click on it, it will take you to the Coursera website. So I just mentioned a few of the courses. There are a lot. I wouldn't lie, there are a lot of courses. So we have AI for everyone, to mathematics for machine learning. Mathematics for machine learning actually is a specialization. The deep learning is also a specialization. So you have like 5 different courses that make up the whole specialization. So if you know that you lack with the math, you can begin with mathematics for machine learning. From there, you can try the applied data science with Python. So they can teach you Python or Python for everyone. Everybody, this is a good course you can start with. So you can learn some programming as well. So these are the courses you can get on Coursera. There are other courses on EDX, and these are the courses you can find on EDX too. So for Coursera, usually some of the courses are paid, right? So I'll teach you how to actually get financial aid. After the presentation, I'll just go on the website of Coursera and then show you how to get financial aid from Coursera. Then EDX2, there are also a series of courses. Just go on the link and then look at the courses they have, catalog of courses they have, and choose what you're interested in. Udemy also has a series of courses. So these are just a few online courses I have mentioned, but then there are a lot. You can just search online courses for machine learning or AI, and you'd find a lot of them. The other would be to look at educational institutions with AI or machine learning. So since this is just like sort of a new field, most schools don't have like a complete program in it. There are very few schools that have like a complete master's or undergraduate degrees in AI or machine learning. Most of them currently incorporate it into the computer science department or the math department. So if you're interested in a particular school, you can research on the professors and their research interests. So you can check the computer science or the maths department. But I have mentioned a few, and of course, African Masters in Machine Intelligence, which is in Ghana and Rwanda, a very good master's program, and scholarship is being provided once you are accepted into the program. But it's very competitive. And yeah, so that is one program you can think about looking at. We have the University of British Columbia, which is in Canada. They also have a master's degree purely in data science in Vancouver in one of their campuses. You can have a look at that. So we have John Hopkins University, University of Washington, New York University, UC Berkeley. And this is an online master's program, by the way. They also have scholarships. So I think they give you 90% scholarship for the master's program. So you can have a look at the MITx Micro Masters program. So all of these links, once you have access to the slide, you can just click on it and it takes you to the direct website of the institutions. So now, once you have all these skills, you begin learning and all of that, you need to be able to keep track of what is going on in the field. You don't just learn all of them and sit back and say you're looking for a job. You need to keep track of it. How do you do that? You can do that by participating in competitions on Kaggle or Zindi. Zindi and Kaggle are the data platforms where people, competitive data platforms where people go on. They provide you access to data. You can have data sets from different fields. So just go download the data from there, begin to try your hands on them. Whilst you're working on this, try to push whatever you do on GitHub, and then put GitHub on your CV when you are making applications and stuff. So it's very important. Keep up with competitions on Kaggle and Zindi, or just get the data. If you don't even want to do the competition, just get the data and then work your hands through them. It's also important that you read papers from conferences, like really top international conferences in machine learning, like NeurIPS, ICRL, Deep Learning, DABA, MLSS. That MLSS is Machine Learning Summer School. Actually, the next one is going to be, I think, next month. Yeah. So they are going to streamline all the talks. They have very good lectures that you probably want to just follow and then connect with people. So it's important that you try to read papers from that. So just identify what you're interested in and then go on the website. Usually they make the paper such that it's based on different fields. So if you're interested in finance, you can just go, and most of the finance papers, you can just get them and then read on them, just to keep abreast with what's happening in the field. The other is to keep active on LinkedIn and Twitter. I think LinkedIn is more professional, and then everyone goes there and then speaks what he or she thinks about things that are happening in a professional way. Then Twitter, people just send in very snapshots of what you're doing, interesting things they're doing. So keep active on those platforms, like follow people as well. Very important, people who actually do AI and machine learning, so you can keep abreast with what's happening. They put a lot of stuff there. Just follow them and then retweet their comments, get interactive. The other I would mention is that you should try to also read profiles of machine learning experts. It will be so awkward when you go somewhere, maybe a conference, machine learning conference, and you begin to talk with someone, the person like, oh, do you know Joshua Benjo? You're like, no, who is that? I mean, there are certain people that you can't just say you don't know about them if you're doing AI, right? Like Geoffrey Hinton. So I just mentioned a few of the names here. So this list are a lot. I just put names, doesn't mean that they are like the best. I'm not saying they're the best or anything. They are good in what they do as well, of course. So you can try to just read about them, read about the kind of research they do and stuff. Just get to know them. So Mustafa Sisi happens to be the founder of the African Masters in Machine Intelligence program, and doubles as the Google head for Google AI head for Accra, Ghana, here in Ghana as well. So you can try to read about him and then probably connect with him too as well. So I would want to conclude with a very simple question. Can anyone do machine learning? So I'll answer the question myself. Yes, anyone can do machine learning. I mean, machine learning is an interdisciplinary field, so it doesn't limit you that you can only do it if you're doing math or statistics. You can do machine learning. It doesn't matter the field you come from, whether you're coming from the health, the social science, economic, whatever. If you want to do machine learning, you can do machine learning. I am adding that if you can dream it, you can do it, by Walt Disney. So I mean, it all depends on your interest, and that's about it. So thank you very much for your attention, and I would now welcome questions if you have any questions or comments, or probably you want to talk about something that a conversation, we can have that now as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I don't know how many of you realize this. It looks like she actually projected or calculated the time she used to speak, because it's exactly 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I took about 2 minutes of her time to do an introduction, but she still kept to the 30 minutes. So this is what, on the lighter side, this is what machine learning and AI can do for you. You're able to make projections. You're able to, to keep to time and know. So right now, if you have a question, we have two options. But Deborah, thank you for this. It's really enlightening, and I know people are already poised to take up roles in AI. I'm already in the IT space, but I really want to also explore some more. So what we're going to have now is the questioning. The questioning. So you can either unmute or no, sorry, raise your hand. I call you, you unmute and speak. Or if your background is noisy because you want to keep the time and save the feedback, you can just let me know in the chat and I'll ask the question for you. So please raise your hand if you have a question, and I'll also be in the chat looking for more questions. Okay, so somebody says the conclusion was powerful. So that's a good one. And right now we don't have any hand raised, but if you have any question,
I
please
would like
let
to
me know.
speak.
All right, so go on. I think who's that, Michael? Is that Michael? After Michael, then you have
Yes, it's
Richard.
Michael.
Okay, so we have
Okay,
Michael
thank you.
first, then we'll have Richard. So Michael, you have the floor.
Thank you for giving me the floor. That was a good presentation, Deborah. I already appreciate what you are always doing. You always do. Deborah, the first thing I would like to know, I would like you to emphasize on the difference between data science and artificial intelligence. You know, many people are confusing data science and machine intelligence. What is the real difference between the both? That's the first question. When you respond it, I'll just put the note.
Okay.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I actually expected this question. Maybe I should have just already put it in my slide or something. So I think, yes, I really agree with you that there's been a bit of confusion about data science, machine learning. The whole term seems to confuse. I think I've already cleared out
Yes.
what AI and machine learning is. So data science, I see data science to be like sort of like inside artificial intelligence, first of all. And that one also covers a broad range of things. So it involves from gathering your data to processing the data to make meanings out of that. So all of that is incorporated in data science. So now with data science, out of data science, you're able to get data analytics, data visualizations, data cleaning, all of those data stuffs are all coming from data science as well. But then, you know, when you're talking now of machine learning, you are applying algorithms to make sense out of the data you have already cleaned. So sort of a thing, there's some thin line of connection between data science and then machine learning. Because machine learning is basically involved with that, okay, I'm building a model for predictions. Now, data science is about, I am making sense out of the data. You can make sense out of the data using just visualization. But then again, you can also make sense out of the data by using it to build certain models. And building those models now brings you to machine learning. I don't know if that's sort of answers your question, or you probably have some follow-up.
That is true. It's true.
Sorry?
It is true that that is a clear answer of the question, but I wanted to know the link between data science and artificial intelligence. But before, when you were explaining the difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, you said machine learning was a subset of artificial intelligence, and
Yes.
deep learning was a subset of machine learning. I wanted to draw such a link between data science and artificial intelligence.
Okay. So if I have to draw this, once we have the big circle of artificial intelligence, inside it we are going to have the data science. Then we can have some intersection of that data science and then machine learning. So I think I have a sheet of paper here. So let me just try to do this. So I would say I would have, I don't know, can you see the sheet?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I will have like the AI as a big picture. Then inside that we have our data science. Then also the data science would have some intersection with our
This
machine
is
learning.
that is not
Then
very
inside
clear.
machine, can you see?
Yes, it is clear now.
Right. He says it's a lot clearer
You
now.
can see?
I can see also.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm saying I will have like the AI still being the whole mother, then data science inside. So like data science and machine learning will be like children of AI. Then we have deep learning. But of course, you can find some school of thought also telling you that they would rather prefer to have AI. Then inside AI, we have data science. Inside data science, we have machine learning, then deep learning. I mean, we all have different school of thoughts. You find even experts still sort of like interchanging the two. So like I said, a different school of thought will tell you that they would rather prefer to have data science, then inside data science you have machine learning.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Also, Michael, can we allow others to ask a question afterwards to see if you have some time that we can have other follow-ups? Right.
Okay.
Right. Thank you so much, Michael. Thanks for the question. That was actually enlightening. So Richard was next. Richard, also,
Sorry,
yeah.
I don't know, after Richard, I forgot to show something. I wanted to show how to seek for financial aid from Sarah, because most people think it's paid, but you can always seek for financial aid. So maybe I will take the question from Richard, and then afterwards I can.
That works well. That works well. So Richard, please make it brief, and afterwards Deborah shows us how to seek financial aid. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please, can you hear me?
Right, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Anyway, this is my first time here. I joined in the latter part, and I think the presentation was great. My question is this: if I want to go into AI, and let's say someone has given me something that he expects the machine to do, thinking of he expects machines to do I need to have a very strong domain knowledge? And if I've not, let's take it as if it's an accounting and I'm not in an accounting field. Do I need an accountant to come and give me a helping hand to get the domain knowledge first before I start modeling my algorithm?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I would say that it depends on what the tax is to begin with. Of course, there'll be some accounting terms that you probably wouldn't be familiar with. And so if you are trying to create certain correlations, like you're building correlation plots, and then you expect that some two features in the data set should be correlated, but you end up finding that they are not correlated. Maybe it implicates something, but because you're not from the background, you probably wouldn't be able to know that, okay, there is a problem here, and what can I do to resolve that? Maybe it's possible that the correlation that you have, the weak correlation you have found, probably you're supposed to blend those two features to get an additional feature, which would now be very informative to get your predictive model. But because you don't have the domain knowledge, it becomes a very big a big problem. So what I'll say is that if you probably will be working in a data set where you don't have domain knowledge, then it's probably prudent that you take some time off, read a lot about the features. What do they mean? What is the implication? What does each of them, what is the effect of each of them to your targets? You should be able to find that differences and understand deeply what they mean. So like, for instance, recently we were given a data set on analyzing DNAs of people to tell their, I've forgotten what it was called again, but it had to do with DNAs. And most of us are not from the health background. So you find the DNA, you haven't seen DAAC, blah, blah, very long. And we had to take time to go and read what the DNA sequences are. Because if you don't read about it, we had to create what we call like a corpus size, like trying to say that, okay, we are giving a size of 6 so that our model picks like 6, a batch of 6 of the DNA sequences. So at the end of it, if we hadn't read about it, it's difficult for you to set the corpus size because you don't have an idea of the field. So in effect or in conclusion, what I want to say is that even if you find yourself having to work on a data set that you don't have domain knowledge on, it is prudent you take some time to read about that particular field, especially with the variables. I think most often they come with descriptions. Each of the features usually come with descriptions. So you should take your time to read and understand the description so that you're able to build very good models if they need be. Sometimes there are certain data sets you can have with a whole lot of features, maybe like 100. And probably the most important features you probably need to build your model will be 3. But if you don't know, you would pick all of those features and say, oh, I'm building a complex model. You put all those features in. It may give you, on your training data set, may give you some 90% accuracy. You're happy. Then at the end, you test it and then you're getting like 10% accuracy. Then you're found hot again because, I mean, you need to come back to the drawing table. So it's really important that you take that into consideration. Even if you don't know, you need to read about it.
Okay. Thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure others are online. I have one more question, but let's go on. If there is time, I'll put it there.
Exactly. So Deborah, you can have the floor to show us the Coursera financial aid.
Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Sorry, can you
Your
see my
screen.
Chrome?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So I'm just on Coursera, their webpage. So let's say that, so let me just open it again. Once you open Coursera, you can come here and say, what do you want to learn? So let's say you want to learn machine learning. So you just search for machine learning. So there's this one from Stanford. So let's say we take this one from Stanford. There's one from Washington. It's a specialization. This is a course. So let's say you take the course, you click here. So here, the instructor here is Andrew. Then you can read about the course here. So you can read what the course is about. You can go more on the syllables. Just try to have a view of what is involved. So this particular week one will need 2 hours to complete. This 2 hours. So you just read about them, know actually what is the course entails, right? Then once you have made up your mind you want to do it, come to financial aid available here. Please don't enroll. Don't enroll. Just go to financial aid available here. Then you continue to the application. It takes you right to the financial aid application. Then you read, accept, and then you type, I agree to the terms above. Then you continue. So you fill in your details and all of that. So it usually takes 2 weeks for it to get approved. And within that 2 weeks, don't enroll. Once you enroll, they'll cancel, they wouldn't give you the scholarship. So it takes 2 weeks for them to approve it. And mostly if you're from Africa, certainly you're going to get the scholarship. So you can do this and do as many courses as possible. And once you complete the course, you update your LinkedIn profile, put the certificate there and all of that. I think all that is very important. So just keep doing that. There are so many courses that you can learn. This course is quite good, deep learning, mathematics for machine learning, so I already mentioned. So yeah.
Right.
So
I think,
any other question?
Yeah, I'm seeing some questions in the chat, and I think by even sharing this on the financial aspects and aid, you've answered some of them in the chat. Because somebody was asking, are Coursera AI courses good for your resume, or can you include them on your LinkedIn account? And you just mentioned that you can actually add them on LinkedIn. And he also added that I've always had desire to delve into the AI sector for a long time. However, I'm also having doubt whether Ghana has a good job market for the field. Maybe you should say that you should have a say on that. Is the market good regarding AI in Ghana, and can people actually try doing or pursuing careers in AI here?
Okay. Yeah. So I think generally in Africa things are picking up. Yes. That because I've just like 2 days ago, I saw some companies advertising for data science intern. There was one I saw machine learning intern some days ago and all of that. So I think that most industries are beginning to see the importance of it. But I think the important discussions that are still ongoing has to do with data privacy, right? Like for instance, when it comes to the health sector, where can I get health data from if not from the hospital? People are skeptical about providing those data out. But of course, you can mask out the names of the patients and then give out the data. But I think that there's this data infrastructure, something in Ghana here that companies can actually apply for and then get the clearance so they can get access to data. So I think generally, yeah, the market probably is not as compared to the US, but things are gradually picking up. And certainly in the next 2-3 years, a lot of companies are going to need lots and lots of machine learning and AI in the work they do. But I think the problem usually in Africa sometimes is that they always want to wait for a very long time till now the European, the US, they all incorporate them. Everyone has moved on before they now see the need that, oh yeah, I need to do this. These people here are doing this and it's working. Then you realize that they now want to quickly incorporate them in their systems. But however, they're still picking up. I think, I don't know, for now, for the schools, I don't know of any school that has begun a course in data science or machine learning. I don't know of any school, but I know of this company. I think Ramila Institute, they started some training on that. So I think with time, every company will begin to do that. But for now, it's just picking up gradually. Yeah.
Right. So it's good to give it a shot. You don't know, even if the field or the department is not there, because of you, they may create one because of the add-on you'll be bringing to the company. Who knows? So that's a good one. Somebody asked a question in my chat, and I'll ask that one. You attempt to quickly. Then we'll take one from Gesh BGE. I think it's a username, but I'll take that one also. So in the private, he asked this privately. He said that, hi, I want to know whether there are platforms to help for analyzing and classification of data. So are there platforms?
Yeah, what?
I want to know whether there are platforms to help with analyzing and classification of data.
So you mean like platforms that you don't have to code?
Looks like in the question, yeah, it says are there platforms? So probably he wants one that's like a framework or something, a platform where you can actually analyze and classify data for him. So there are some like that.
Yes.
Right.
So I think as Azure machine learning platforms provides that, you actually don't really have to do any rigorous coding and stuff. You just go on and then try to drag and drop. If you're building your machine learning model, then you already, like, you pull and choose what you need in your train, what you need in your test, what are the variables. You just put all of those things. So it's like you are building something, but you're just dragging them in, and then it gives you your output. So if it's something like that, maybe you can look at the Azure machine learning. I think some people use that automated machine learning. So you can look at that if you're interested in. And then for visualizations, so far the very good ones I know is Power BI and then Tableau for visualization. So if you're interested in doing very good visualization, I would actually vote for Power BI or Tableau. I think both are actually paid, but and you can use them on Windows. So if you're using Windows and Mac, if you're using Debian, I'm sorry, you probably will have to use the online version. Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to ask this question. Then afterwards, I would ask that you share with us how to reach you, say email, say Twitter, because there are many questions that are coming, and it's actually happy to know that people want to know more. And so once I ask this question afterwards, you can actually share with us your contact and how to reach you. So the question is, okay, his name is Buri. So Buri says that, okay. So Buri says that, can you advise on the best way to read the papers? Most of them are high level. So what's your advice? Can you advise on the best way to read the papers? Most of them are high level.
D'abord, attends, je finis.
Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with you. So I think largely before I came to AMI, some of the papers, of course, I also used to read and like, what is happening here? They are using very complex things and stuff you're very not familiar with. But I think after we had like about very good foundation course on machine learning from Mustafa, most of the things, it became easier to read. And so what I advise is you probably will have to get back to the basics, try to understand deeply when they talk about forward propagation. What do they mean? What is involved in forward propagation? What is involved in backward propagation? What is involved in gradient descent? What are the types of gradient descent? How does it work? Understand all those bases. Once you pick and understand the foundation, then you pick the paper, you can try to read with someone. I think usually it's better when you read with someone else. You just share with someone that, okay, today let's try to read like 2 pages of this paper. And usually with papers, what they do is that they hide most of the information. Like it's usually like a summary, so they don't give you all the details. So you can read one line over and over, and that one single line probably contains different ideas from different places that you have to put together to understand. So if you're doing it together with someone in a group, it makes it easier. If you don't understand, let's say the first sentence, the person probably understands, then he explains or she explains to you. You read the second line, you probably would now understand. You explain together, and then small, you pick it up from there. I think if you're able to read 2-3 papers, with time, everything, it becomes easier. Like it becomes easier to read faster with other papers. And then pick areas you're interested in. If you're not interested in CV, computer vision, you go pick computer vision papers. You get like angry because you see things you don't even like. You see kernel size, filter, blah, blah, blah. You're like, okay, what is this? So you pick areas that you're interested in as well. Don't just go pick papers in areas you are not interested in.
Right. Thank you so much. Another person says, I don't know if that is a platform. I'm not so conversant with the platforms and data science and machine learning, but somebody says it's hash. Okay, the hash sign is there. It's hash assume machine learning. Is this helpful as a beginner? I don't know. It's a platform. Check in the chat.
I think he wants to say this. I guess this is what the person wants to say.
Azure. Oh. Okay.
So I think this I think some people actually in the industry use it. You know, sometimes when you go to the industry, they are more interested in getting work done rather than, okay, I'm interested in how you did it. They want to ask, did you get it done? How good is it? That's what matters. So it would really depend on where you want to go somehow. There's some industries that are okay with it. But then if you're going into research, there's no way you go to do a master's degree or a PhD and they'll ask you to use this. That's just not, it's not going to work. Certainly you would have to learn the hard way. You have to learn the coding. So for a beginner, I think probably try to learn the programming a bit and maybe later move to this if you want. But don't begin with that because it will be very hard for you to learn the coding with time. So probably learn the coding a bit and then later on you can move to this.
Right. So I mentioned early on that you're recording this because we want to stick to time and we want to actually have it available for everyone. So every email that registered for this webinar, this meeting is going to be, the recording is going to be sent to each and everyone. So I just want you to conclude by sharing with us how to reach you because Michael has a question. I know Richard has a follow-up, but because of time, you can't take all of them. So just share with us, how do you reach you? Email, you can type in the chat if you want, as you say them, so people get to copy. I also copy it in the mail I'll send. I would add it so people can reach you. So just share with us and we round up. I'll also let you all know when the next founder story series is going to be. It's going to be in the next 2 weeks or 1 week. I'll let you know, and we'll give you also the topic that's going to be discussed. But more of this will be happening. We'll look at API integration. We'll look at even the other side of the technicality of IT. See how to put together technical writing or even communicating, like she mentioned, which is very essential. We'll look at all those. We'll look at writing a proposal that sells. And I think we'll be well-grounded or well-shaped for the job market, the global job market. So Deborah has put it in the chat and I'm going to copy so you all can actually take it and then you can reach out for more. Deborah, at this point, I want to thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. It's a cold afternoon in Accra. And I also want you to have your final words before we leave. So Deborah, your final words.
Okay. All right, so thank you very much for the opportunity to talk on this very important topic. So you can reach me anytime by any of the social media handles I've given. So I'll just say that to begin anything, it's never easy. It's never easy. But then with determination, focus, and consistency, you'd certainly achieve whatever you want. So just keep at it. Just keep trying and failing. Keep trying and failing. When you fail, you have learned something. So don't get demoralized by failing. Just fail and then pick up from there and then continue. It's going to get fine.
Right. Thank you so much. Oh, to your question, Richard, no, Michael would have to be directly to her, privately. You know, she's left her contact in the chat. So your question has to be privately to her. So because at this
Yeah.
time we've ended. Merci beaucoup. Later we'll continue this chat. So Michael, you have to take the contact is put in the chat, and you can reach her anytime.
No, I have a contact.
All right.
I have a contact.
So guys, you can unmute and say bye.
Deborah is my friend.
Oh wow. So you can unmute and say goodbye to everyone, and see you on the next one. We're going to try and add to our skills on this kind of meetings. So goodbye to everyone, and thank you. I'll get back with the bye. I'll get back with the bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye 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 bye.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Bye.
Okay, sure. Thank you guys. Goodbye. Okay.
Deborah, I'm just taking you.